Red Brick Media. High quality CDs, DVDs, lectures, khutbah, conferences and Quran recitations. All revenue generated supports our dawah work, supported by visiting our store. You can now purchase directly from our site www.redbrickmedia.co.uk.
أن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله والسلام عليه. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. In regards to the issue of the ilm al-ghayb, a lot can be said about it and it can be tackled and dealt with from many angles. About 2 months ago, I believe, I gave a khutbah about the ilm al-ghayb in Green Lane Masjid, and about a week or two after that khutbah, we gave the khutbah in Hardtop Road about ilm al-ghayb. And here we are today doing this talk about the ilm al-ghayb. And if we were to go on Islam channel and do a daily program about the ilm al-ghayb, and if every imam of the city started to give some classes about the ilm al-ghayb, no one can blame the Muslims for going overboard in this issue, and no one can claim that he's going to deal with the whole issue and exhaust everything that needs to be dealt with. Especially now, at this time, where there is an assault on the aqidah of the Muslim as a result of many factors. And one of the worst ones is the factor that some of our parents didn't teach us Islam. They didn't know, so they weren't equipped to teach us. So we took the religion and the understanding from the religion, many times not knowing what we were doing. And some people find it very difficult to break out of that shell, to give up the religion that their forefathers were upon. What I mean by give up the religion, not the deen, but the way they believed. The way they believed when it went against the religion of Islam. Here in the city of Birmingham, just as it is in this masjid, the vast majority of people in this masjid, the Muslims in Birmingham, they come from Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, the Asians. And some of the aqidah of the Sikhs and the Hindus crept into the religion of the Muslims in that area, except that the ones that Allah favored them. Allah favored them. And don't sit there thinking that I'm putting you down, I'm putting your grandfather down, your mother, your father, I'm saying you are not Muslims. No, I'm not saying that. My people come from Africa. A lot of nonsense crept into the religion of the Africans. I just came from Africa recently and saw with my own eyes, I saw Muslims making sajda to a tree, slaughtering for a tree with my own eyes. I have it on my phone. I took it as a picture. So I'm sure the African brothers here know what I'm talking about, so they're not going to be sensitive and say, what is this guy talking about, putting our people down? That's reality. So the point here is, in our city of Birmingham, many of the messages understand the religion of Islam, and from it is the ilm al-ghayb. We have some problems. So the point here is we cannot exhaust this issue. This issue is from the most important issues in al-Islam. It is the origin of the religion, the asl ad-din. It's the fundamental issue that the whole religion is built upon. Without it, a person's not a Muslim. If he doesn't have an iman, the ilm al-ghayb, and he can't have iman in something if he doesn't understand that issue. At least in a basic way. At least in a basic way. So when Jibril, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, who none of us saw, none of us met, he's from the ilm al-ghayb, and no one has any doubt about his presence. When he came to the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who none of us saw, none of us met, have to believe in him. It's ilm al-ghayb. We don't have any doubt about that. When Jibril came to the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said to him, tell me, what is al-iman? What is faith? And what is it that constitutes a person being a mu'min, a possessor of al-iman? He said, al-iman wa an tu'mina billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusulihi wal yawm al-akhir wa an tu'mina bil qadr khayrihi wa sharrihi. In order for a person to be a mu'min, ya Muhammad, he has to believe in Allah. He has to believe in the angels. He has to believe in the books that Allah sent down. He has to believe in the prophets, the messengers that Allah sent. He has to believe in Yawm al-Qiyamah, and he has to believe in the qadr, the good of it and the bad of it. The Nabi told him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when Jibril told him, you spoke the truth. That is sanctioned by Allah from above the seven heavens over his throne in a way that befits his majesty. So the point here is, each one of those 6 pillars of faith, every one of them is from the ilm al-ghayb. You can't touch it, you can't smell it, you can't hold it. It's from the ilm al-ghayb, from the usul of the religion. It is the asl of the religion of Islam. Without it, a person can't claim to be a Muslim. No doubt, in believing in Allah, there are many details. What he does, what he doesn't do, where he is, where he isn't. And believing in the malaika, there are many details. Their number, how they were created, what they do, what they don't do. And believing in all 6 of those arkan of al-iman, those pillars of faith, there are details. Allah didn't make us responsible, each individual here, to know every single aspect of every detail. But He did make it our responsibility and an obligation to learn as much as you possibly can learn, so that you will be in a position to worship Allah with knowledge, knowing what you're doing. طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيدَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ. Getting knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim. That includes your mother, your father, your auntie, your grandmother, your grandfather who can't read and write. He can't read and write. And getting knowledge is an obligation upon him. Part of that obligation is going to be fulfilled when some of the younger people go to the elders or from their relatives, and in a gentle, nice, respectful, moderate way, change some of the concepts and ideas that people are having that go against the religion of Islam. If the person doesn't do that and he knows, he's going to be partly responsible for the ignorance that is prevalent in our community and our families. So concerning this issue of the ilm al-ghayb, the ilm al-ghayb is from the sole information and possession of Allah Azza wa Jal. No one shares with Allah Azza wa Jal this knowledge of His ghayb. No one from His creation at all. Allah has characteristics. Some of those characteristics, He tells Bani Adam to bring on board these characteristics. Like Ar-Rahmah, Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. And the human being was told to be merciful. For an example, the Nabi told the people sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Irham man fil ard, yarhamak man fil sama. Have rahmah on the people on the earth, and the one who is over the 7 heavens, over the heavens, he'll have rahmah on you. So we've been commanded, encouraged. Getting knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim. Allah is an alim, is knowledgeable. So Allah has characteristics, and human beings are commanded, encouraged to share in those characteristics, that some of them that Allah Azza wa Jal has, like al-hilm, rahmah, and lutf, being gentle, being easy, they're meaning. But the way that Allah has those characteristics is complete and perfect. And then there are characteristics of Allah that only He has, and no one can share with Him in those characteristics. From them, al-kibr. From the names of Allah as He is al-mutakabbir. He is the one who is arrogant. Allah Ta'ala, He is al-khaliq. No one can be the khaliq. He is the ilah, the God, the one who is worshipped. No one can be like that. No one. And if a person tries to compete with Allah in these things, there's a serious, grievous punishment. So the Nabi told the people, no one should say, you're the King of Kings. No one should say that. You're the King of Kings. Because Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah Ta'ala is going to come and He's going to say, we're the kings today. The creation and dominion is in my hands. So when you take out that name, you compete with Allah Azza wa Jalla. Also similar to it is al-Kibriyah. The Nabi said that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's cloak is kibr. Anyone who competes with Him, He's going to punish him. The point of all of that, Khwani, is from the characteristics of Allah Azza wa Jalla that are exclusively for Him is this issue of ilm al-ghayb. No one knows knowledge of the unseen except Allah Azza wa Jalla. And yet, if you were to allow the Muslims of Birmingham to tell you, and the vast majority of the masajid, they would tell you other people have knowledge of the ilm al-ghayb. For an example, the people of At-Tasawwuf, they are of the opinion that the Aqtab, they're the people who Sufis believe have reached a level where they become one with Allah. They're holding up the universe. They are sitting on the axis of the universe. They believe that they know the ilm al-ghayb along with Allah. Some people believe, obviously, and this is extremely prevalent in our city, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam knew the ilm al-ghayb. He's Hazir Nazir. Hazir Nazir. He's with us right now. He's in Mogadishu. He's in Japan, Peking, New York City, Mecca and Medina. So therefore he knows everything. He knows what I left in my house when I came here and so forth. So some people believe that. If you were to try to convince them with the many ayat, ad-damira, too many ayat of the Quran that negate anyone having any knowledge of the ghaib except Allah Ta'ala, if you were to share that with the Muslims, they will begin to hurl abuses at you and claim that you don't love Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and some of them will even say that you're a disbeliever. Some people say that because they're just enemies to the da'wah of the sunnah. They just don't like al-ikhlas, purity of religion. They don't like tawheed. Some people just have a natural opposition to tawheed. As Allah mentioned, those people in the Quran, وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ اشْمَأَزَّتْ قُلُوبُ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ. If Allah is mentioned by Himself, the hearts of those people who don't believe in the hereafter, they become enraged. Some people are like that. You tell them, say La ilaha illallah, he gets upset. The ayat went on to say, and if someone was mentioned along with Allah, إِلَهُمْ يَسْتَبْشِرُونَ, they become happy, because shirk is inside of the equation. So some people, they're going to reject that explanation and that call. No one knows the ilm al-ghayb except Allah Azza wa Jalla, because they hate tawheed, ikhlas. And some people reject it simply because they don't know. They have what's known in Islam as shubahat. There are clearly indications that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about the ilm al-ghayb. Clearly. He sat with his companions, radiyallahu anhum, the way you sit when you make a tashahhud, at-tahiyatu lillah, on your knees. They were sitting the way you're sitting, facing him. And he was on his knees, sitting like in tashahhud, the jalsa, al-istirah. He extended himself on his knees, and he went higher than them, and he started looking over their heads. He told them, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, inni ara al-fitan taqa ala buyutikum kama yasbutu al-matr. He said, I'm looking at the fitan, trials and tribulations, they are falling on your homes the same way that the rain falls down on the roofs of your homes. When the people looked, they didn't see any fitting. They didn't see, what is he talking about? He was talking about the future, what was going to happen to the Muslims. That in a Muslim home, you'll find that one over there, he wants to be gay. That one over there, he wants to leave his religion. That one over there, sell drugs. That one is shooting heroin. Just drama. The Nabi saw those things. He saw Iraq, Afghanistan, Palestine, Kashmir. He saw all of this ikhtilaf between the Muslims. How it was very difficult for them to come in a place like this and tolerate each other. They're going to be people with different ideas. He saw all of that. Isn't that some knowledge of the ghaib? So some of our Muslim brothers and sisters, our relatives, they believe that he had knowledge of the ghaib because of issues like that. He told them things that were going to happen. We mentioned in the khutbah that we gave this Friday, from what he told us about this ummah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and it's happened. لا تقوم الساعة حتى تلحق قبائل من أمتي بالمشركين وحتى تعبد الأوثان. Yawm al-Qiyamah won't be established until a group of people from this ummah start to make shirk with Allah. Outright shirk, not hidden shirk, not shirk that has some explanation why they're doing it, just outright shirk. Worshiping mountains, trees, rocks, human beings, dead people, angels, birds, all kind of issues. How can he tell us that? The deviant groups that came after him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told the people, al-Qadariyya majus hadhihi al-ummah. The people of al-Qadariyya, they weren't present during the time of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They're the people who say, Allah doesn't know the qadr until it happens. Allah didn't know that I was going to lift this bottle until I lifted it. But the Quran told us that Allah wrote that I was going to lift this bottle 50,000 years before he created the heavens and the earth. He created the pen and he told the pen, write. The pen said, what should I write? The pen said, write everything until Yawm al-Qiyamah. So we're going through the motions. And as we go through the motions, we're going through the motions with a wheel. So he said that these people, the Qadariyya, they're the Majus of this ummah. The Majus, because in Persia, they were the people who worship the God of light and the God of darkness. They believe there were two gods, God of light and darkness. So the Nabi said that the people who are Qadariyya, they don't believe in the Qadr, they're like the Majus, because they believe there is Allah who knows what's going to happen after it happens, but before it happens, there's some other God who may know, may not know. The point is, how did the Nabi told the people about that, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they weren't even created yet? So our Muslim relatives, our family, our brothers and sisters, they say, he must have ilm al-ghaib before the battle of Badr. The Muslims were about the number that we have in this room right now. They were about this many companions. And they're going to fight the kuffar who were over 1,000. And the people obviously were nervous, because it's natural to be nervous, wondering what's going to happen tomorrow. The Nabi started telling them things that gave them thabat. And from what he said, is that he told the people, so-and-so from Quraysh is going to die right here, tomorrow. And so-and-so is going to die right there. And so-and-so is going to die here and here and here and here. And he started telling them, and the Muslims were getting happy. They didn't meet the kuffar yet. They didn't meet him yet. But they knew that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam la yantiqu an al-hawa in huwa illa wahyuha. He doesn't talk based upon his designs. When he talks, it is revelation. Either the Quran or the authentic hadith that came out of his mouth sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is revelation. Jibreel came to him and told him, say this and say that and do this and do that concerning his sunnah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's authentic. So we want to address this issue, inshallah. We want to address it unequivocally. There can be no doubt in the mind of the Muslim. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam didn't know ilm al-ghaib. The jinn, the malaika, the prophets before him, no one has knowledge of the unseen except Allah. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran in a number of ayat, قُلْ لَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ الْغَيْبَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Tell them, Ya Muhammad, from what has been revealed to you, you tell these people, no one in the heavens and no one on the earth knows the unseen except Allah. So that excludes all of the malaika, that excludes everyone and everybody who's on the earth. The jinn, mankind, with the jinn, with the mankind, are those prophets and those messengers from mankind, and the awliya, the ulama from mankind and from the jinn. No one knows the unseen except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And He doesn't share that with anyone except with some conditions that we're going to mention inshallah ta'ala. Another ayat that we want you brothers to consider, and to consider this ayat in light of what you know historically. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, قُلْ لَا أَمْلِكُ لِنَفْسِي نَفْعًا وَلَا ضَرًّا إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ وَلَوْ كُنْتُ أَعْلَمُ الْغَيْبَ لَاسْتَكْثَرْتُ مِنَ الْخَيْرِ وَمَا مَسَّنِي السُّوءُ. Tell them, Ya Muhammad, from what was revealed to you, tell them, I, Muhammad, I don't have any ability to bring benefit to myself or to push harm off of myself, except what Allah allows. And if I knew the unseen, no harm would have ever touched me, and I would have taken all of the good and increased the good. Inna Allah Alim Khabir. Allah is Alim, Allah is Khabir. Before going to any other issue, Khwani, I want you to take a minute, as I mentioned, look at this ayat through the prism of what you know historically about how many harmful things touched Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you know and I know, any human being, even the worst non-Muslim, if he had knowledge of these evils that were going to touch him, even he, non-Muslim, is going to push it off of him. What about the one who is the Khatam of the Anbiya and the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has love for people, mercy towards people, he doesn't like dhulm, he just is the epitome of intellect. Look at the evil that touched him. And the battle of Uhud, before the battle transpired and took place, there's the mountain of Uhud behind the Muslims, and Mecca is in front of them. And all of the army is coming towards them from the mushrikun of Quraysh. They all gathered together to extinguish the light of Islam. So the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to his companions, what should we do? What should we do? He took the istishara, consultation. If he knew everything, there's no need to take any istishara. I consult you, you consult me to get a bigger and a better, fuller picture of something. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, what should we do? Salman al-Farisi said, what we used to do in Persia is, if the army was too big in number, we would just build a ditch, put something behind our backs where they can't get us from the back, put some men on the flank so they can't get us from the side, and then dig a ditch, a wide, deep ditch. Anyone who crosses it, we're going to kill him. The Nabi took that advice. So the point is, why ask if he knows everything? Why? That day, when they were building and digging the ditch, the Nabi was helping them, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And it's no doubt, he was helping them. From amongst them was his uncle Abbas. From them was Hamza, his uncle. From them was Mus'ab ibn Umayr. When Mus'ab ibn Umayr accepted Islam in al-Madinah, he was a rich young man. He embraced Islam. Rasulullah sent him to al-Madinah by himself. Go give dawah to the people of Medina. He went and he started teaching them al-Islam. He was the scholar of those people. Anyway, the day of the battle of Uhud, Hamza, the uncle of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was murdered at the battlefield. Not only was he murdered and given shahada, but because of the extreme hatred of the kuffar of Quraysh, they opened up his stomach, they took out his intestines, they cut his ears off, they cut his nose off, they gouged out his eye, they took teeth, they split his lips, they did all kind of mutilation to him. When the Nabi saw it, he was disturbed, and he told the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, la tumathilu, la tumathilu. When you Muslims fight, don't mutilate people. Don't mutilate people. Mus'ab ibn Umayr radiallahu anhu was killed on that day, shahada. When the Nabi saw him, first he saw Hamza, he started crying. He said, don't let his sister Ma'al Safiya, don't let her see, because she's going to be disturbed. As for the story of Hind, the wife of Abu Sufyan, who on that day was a kafira, mushrika, just as Abu Sufyan was, in that movie, The Message, it showed him eating the liver and going crazy. That's not authentic. Abu Sufyan would never allow his wife in Jahiliyyah to go to a dead body and eat the dead body. Abu Sufyan was more of a man in Jahiliyyah, manliness, manhood, than anybody in this room, in Jahiliyyah. And in Islam, it just became stronger. It's not possible. I'm not saying that a kafir is better than a Muslim. I'm saying in terms of rajula, in terms of eloquence, in terms of personality. Abu Sufyan, it would be crazy for one of our wives to be so upset, she goes to the dead thing, she starts eating the liver. People are going to say, hey, so-and-so's wife, she was eating the liver, she ate the intestines and the intestines. We're going to say, what's wrong with that family? What's wrong with that? So the point here is, why? The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the people, don't let my auntie, his sister, see this body. Don't let it happen. He saw Mus'ab ibn Umayr. Mus'ab ibn Umayr had so much money that the Nabi was saddened that the young man was killed. He wanted to cover him up for his janazah. As you all know, he put the leaves on he put the shroud on his head, his feet exposed, put it on his feet. His head is exposed, so he put it on his head and covered his feet with some leaves. Now the question is concerning this battle. The ayah said, "Lo kuntu a'lam al-ghayb lastakthartu min al-khayr wa ma massani su." If I knew the unseen, no evil would have touched me. Not at all. I just said to my uncle Hamza, "You're gonna get killed tomorrow." Mus'ab ibn Umayr, "You're gonna get killed tomorrow, so don't come out." And he was hurt, he was affected by the death of both of them. And the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam crying and being affected doesn't go against an iman if someone dies. This religion doesn't tell us, even if they died on the battlefield and they died doing something, we shouldn't be happy about someone's death, because it's natural. You're going to miss your mother, your sister, your brother, your wife, your husband, your child. It's not something to be happy about. A person, if he loses 2 children, those children will intercede for him Yawm al-Qiyamah. So you see him upset, distraught, crying. Don't come and say to him, hey, don't worry, they're going to be intercessors for you, you should be happy. No, this is not something to be happy about. So the point here, Wani, is the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam clearly is better than any ignorant non-Muslim who, if he had the ability to push evil off of his uncle, he's going to do it. But the fact that he doesn't have knowledge of the unseen, and he's equal to everybody else from Bani Adam in regards to the general unseen of Allah Azza wa Jal, and that everybody is ignorant about it unless Allah Azza wa Jal were to expose aspects of it to different people from his slaves, especially the Rasuls. Another example of that is when he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was in al-Medina, and the Jewish lady sent him some food as a gift, and it's permissible to eat the food of Ahl al-Kitab, Jewish lady, and in one narration, a Jewish man, Asim ibn Labid. The Nabi started eating the food with some of his companions, and suddenly he said to them, hey, don't eat the food, stop eating. And he said, stop eating, it's poisoned. As soon as he said that, people started falling down dead. 13 of them died right then and there. 13. Because the Jewish man, he was upset that his tribe had been punished. He was upset, and he had jealousy that this is the Nabi that Musa told the people about, and they wanted the Nabi to be from Bani Israel, and because they have a history of killing the prophets and the messengers. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't kill the man. He allowed the man to go. He allowed the man to go. Although the man tried to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was responsible for killing people, multiple people from the awliya of Allah, which goes to show the issue and the importance of weighing the situation in terms of how to deal with issues. If the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam decided to kill that man, maybe at that time the Muslims weren't in a position to go into that type of a war. For whatever reason, he didn't do it. Again, the question is, Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he loved his companions the way Allah wants a human being to love another human being, fully and completely in the correct way. If he knew the ilm al-ghaib, do you think that he would sit there and he would allow people to eat poison meat and then die as a result of that? And he himself, when he was dying, he told the people, I still feel the effects of the poison meat that the Jewish person gave me. He was still feeling it to the last moment of his life. So for that reason, some of the scholars of Islam, the historians like Al-Imam Muhammad Jarir al-Tabari, he said that the Jews were successful in having something to do with the ultimate demise of the Khatam of the Anbiya and the Rasul, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, because he complained about the pain of the poison meat right before dying. So those examples are some of the many examples in the Kitab, in the Sunnah, that no one knows the unseen, the knowledge of the ghaib, except Allah. It's wajib for us to believe in it, but it's not permissible for us to go after it. Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. In this book, from the beginning to the end, there are a lot of characteristics of the munafiqeen, a lot of characteristics of the muttaqeen, a lot of characteristics of different things. The very first characteristic of the believer in this book is that they believe in the unseen. It's the pillar by which everything else is built upon. When they pray, all of that has to do with their iman bil ghaib. They're praying to the one who they don't see. They have to actually imagine, as the Nabi mentioned sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he is in front of you and he's watching you, and so forth and so on. So when a person goes to an individual in this dunya, and that individual is claiming that he has the ability to tell you where something is that has been lost or something that's going to happen tomorrow, that's considered kufr in al-Islam. And what was collected by Imam Ahmed and other Ahmed on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, Mustafa qala sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, man ata ar-rafiq aw kahina thumma saddaqahu bima qala faqad kafara ala ma unzila ala Muhammadin. Anyone who goes to a soothsayer or fortune teller and he believes what that person told him, he has disbelieved in what was revealed on Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because what was revealed on Muhammad clearly indicates no one knows the ghaib except Allah Azza wa Jalla. Another hadith showing the severity and the seriousness is that this is kufr. Man ata ar-rafi wa sa'alahu an shay lam tuqbal lahu salat 40 layla. Anyone who goes to someone and asks him, a soothsayer, fortune teller, tell me about what happened, the unseen. Anyone who does that, his salat won't be accepted for 40 days. For 40 days. It's a major sin. It's not permissible. Another issue, Ikhwani, that we want to draw your attention to, that is extremely important, is that Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, عِنْدُهُ مَفَاتِيهِ الْغَيْبِ لَا يَعْلَمُهَا إِلَّا هُوَ. Allah has the keys of the unseen, and no one knows those keys except Allah. If someone were to ask the Muslim, what are the keys of the unseen? This is a piece of knowledge that every Muslim, or most of us, should have some knowledge about it. How many pillars are there in al-Islam? Everybody should have some knowledge about that. They may not say it in chronological order, What are the 6 pillars of al-Iman? He has to know. The 11 wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our mothers. How many can you mention? Getting knowledge is an obligation upon everybody in this religion. And we have to get that knowledge, which is an obligation, those things that push off of you ignorance. As for the knowledge on the higher level, at the expense of the knowledge on the lower level, that's right in front of your nose, that's a big problem. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, telling us and warning us, don't be like the people who they put the cart before the horse. ما كان لبشر أن يؤتيه الله الكتاب والنبوة والحكم ثم يقول للناس كونوا عبادا لي من دون الله ولكن كونوا ربانيين بما كنتم تعلمون الكتاب وبما كنتم تدرسون. It's not possible for Allah to make a human being a prophet, to give him a book, to give him his sunnah, and then that prophet goes and tells the people, worship me instead of Allah. But that prophet is going to tell the people, be Rabbaniyin, because of what you used to learn and what you used to teach. And Imam al-Bukhari, he said that the Rabbani person is the one who deals with the small knowledge before the big knowledge. Learn the names of your mothers, the 11 wives of the Nabi. Learn the names and the Arkan of al-Islam, the main prophets and the main messengers and the main malaika. As for that bigger knowledge, and jump with ta'deel is a very important knowledge. But it's a big knowledge, and you're dealing with it in the wrong way, and you're dealing with it at the expense of the smaller things, like learning how to read Surah Al-Fatiha. Be balanced. In regards to the ilm al-ghaib, ikhwani, that ayah said that Allah has the keys of the unseen. So from what we know is that the ghaib has some mafatih, and they are 5. There are other things that are from the ilm al-ghaib, but these are the 5 ones that Allah is showing us a message, giving us a lesson. What are they? They've been mentioned in Surah Luqman. Allah Ta'ala mentioned, Inna Allah مفاتيح الغيب إن الله عنده علم الساعة وينزل الغيث ويعلم ما في الأرحام وما تدري نفس ماذا تكسب غدا وما تدري نفس بأي أرض تموت. Those 5 are considered to be the keys of the unknown, and the Nabi expounded upon them sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why were they mentioned? Verily to Allah belongs the knowledge of the hour. Nobody knows when the hour is going to be established. When Jibril said to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Mata sa'a, tell me, when is the hour? He said the one who was asking the question knows just as much as the one who was being questioned. All of us are equal in the ilm al-ghaib. With Jibril, with Rasulullah, with Musa, we're all equal. But Allah Ta'ala raises them above Bani Adam with insight and information about the ghaib that he didn't give the other people. So Allah Azza wa Jalla knows when the hour is going to be. Allah knows when the rain is going to come down. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala knows what's inside of the womb of the mother when she is carrying a child. And no soul knows what is it going to do tomorrow. Now that we have a new day, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Will we see tomorrow? And what will we accomplish tomorrow? And no soul knows in which earth it is going to die. And all of those issues that have been mentioned, all of them, they go to show Bani Adam the reality of his weakness and his not knowing, and the reality of Allah's supreme knowledge. Supreme knowledge. Because these issues are touching us, touching close to home. You yourself, you don't know what you're going to do tomorrow. You yourself don't know where you're going to die. Your wife who has a baby, you don't know if that baby is going to come out okay and not okay. And there's a time when you don't even know if she's pregnant. She doesn't even know if she's pregnant. And she's the closest person to the child. She doesn't know. She may think that she's pregnant and it turns out that she's not pregnant. She may think that she's not pregnant and it turns out that she is pregnant. So now, in some of these issues, All of them, as a matter of fact. In most of these issues, these 5 things, we know that some people have come to know some aspects of this ilm al-ghayb. Like the hour. We know that the hour is going to be established on what day? Yawm al-Qiyamah is going to be on a Friday. But we don't know which Friday. That's what Allah allowed the Prophet to know, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as a rahmah to the community. Do more stuff as Friday gets closer. Make sure your deeds go up to Allah on Thursday. You made Tawbah. You did, the things that you're doing. Read Surah Al-Kahf. Go to the Jummah on Friday. We don't know which Friday. But he had knowledge of it, some of it. Concerning the rain, the non-Muslims are telling us in the next few days there's going to be more rainfall, going to cause some problems and flooding up in the north. And sometimes it comes down like that and sometimes it doesn't. But all across the world they're telling us about these issues. The whole issue about what's inside of the womb. You can go to the hospital, they can do some MRI test on you and see you're having a boy, you're having a girl. They can do that. And it's not acceptable for Muslims to be opposed to that. That knowledge is the waqi', that's the reality. Similar to it is what and where a person is going to die. For the most part, the person is not going to leave his country. Most people die in the place where they live, where they come from. But it's not guaranteed that that's where you're going to die. The point is, we don't negate aspects of these issues. Some people have them. But they have them because Allah Azza wa Jalla allowed them to have them. He didn't give them the complete knowledge of the whole thing, but He allowed them to have it because it's a rahmah from Allah Azza wa Jalla, so that people can get ready and they can make different moves. And also, it's a test from Allah Azza wa Jalla, showing people you don't have to necessarily understand or be able to comprehend the thing in its totality in order to believe in it. And we establish that by simply saying it and pointing to the Quran and the Sunnah. That seeing is not necessarily believing. We're not going to do magic to prove that point. We're just going to say it. Seeing is not necessarily believing. There are many things that are going on. The vast majority of what's being required of us as Muslims, it is predicated upon having the ilm al-ghayb. And that's what Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran. Alim al-ghayb. He is the one who knows the unseen. وَلَا يُظْهِرُ غَيْبَهُ عَلَىٰ أَحَدٍ. He doesn't allow anyone to see anything about his ghayb. إِلَّا لِمَنْ ارْتَضَىٰ مِنْ رَسُولٍ. Except a messenger from his messengers, he may give him knowledge of the unseen. Allah may give that Rasul from his Anbiya, from his Rasul, the ability to see certain things, but even them collectively and combined, they don't know the ilm al-ghayb. As for Bani Adam, Allah allowed the human beings to see some of these issues that were mentioned, but again, it's not total complete knowledge of the unseen. The one who's having a child, when they tell you having a son, sometimes it comes out as a girl, and vice versa. They may see the child a boy or a girl, but they don't know if the child is going to come out and live. So there's no contradiction. They know something about that child. Yeah, the lady is pregnant and there's a boy. They're not always right when they say that. But is the child going to come out and live? And how many times did the child come out opposite of what they said and having problems that they didn't even know about? Because they didn't know. Allah Ta'ala knew what was in the womb of that child, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knew every single thing about that child. So part of ikhwani, a person being a mu'min, not just a Muslim, part of him being a mu'min is that it is an absolute obligation to believe in the ghayb, but to believe in the ghayb the way the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought belief in it, the way the Quran is telling us to believe in it. And from what we've been commanded to know and to believe is, no one has knowledge of the ghayb except Allah Azza wa Jalla. The more you know about it, inshallah, the more you're better, the better you are off in terms of making preparations of Yawm al-Qiyamah and worshiping Allah Azza wa Jalla in a way that He legislated and He found acceptable. So with our relatives who are on this way, that's the other thing. We say to them, yes, The Nabi had some knowledge of some issues, but it was only because Allah allowed him to have knowledge of some of the issues. He didn't have knowledge of any aspect of the ilm al-ghaib where he had all of the knowledge. Allah gave him some stuff. The people came and they asked him, tell us about the ruh that's inside of you. Your ruh. The Nabi just remained silent because he didn't know. Until Jibril came to him and told him about the ruh. That the affair of the ruh is from Allah. He didn't just start talking because he didn't know. He didn't know anything about it until Jibril came and told him about it. So it's a bit disturbing, it's unacceptable for the Muslim Ummah to have these clear ayat and adilla damira. The hadith of the Nabi, Jibril said, when is Yawm al-Qiyam? He says, you know just as much as me. And then the person comes and said, la wallahi, he really knows. He just said that to be humble with Jibril. He only said that to be humble with Jibril. No, this is ghulu. This is ghulu. And this is not something that's peculiar for Rasulullah. It was also part of what the prophets and the messengers also were given before him. In Surah Al-Imran and other ayat of the Quran, those prophets and the messengers were informed of issues so that their people would believe in them. As Isa ibn Maryam said, وَأُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا تَأْكُلُونَ وَتَتَّخِرُونَ فِي بُيُوتِكُمْ. I'm telling you people, when he came to them, Ben Israel, he said, I tell you what you eat in your homes, and I tell you what you saved and stored for yourselves of food. Isa will come to the one who had doubt about him being a Rasul or a messenger. He would say, today you ate this and that and this and that. And in your house you had this and this and this and this is food. And that will cause that person's iman and his yaqeen and Isa ibn Maryam to be increased. Because how can you be telling all of these people what they ate today? As you sit right there, I don't know what a single person ate here today. Now I can guess, most of you ate chapatis. I can guess that. But African people didn't eat no chapatis today. So the point here, the shahid of the kalam, the point is, this is not something that only the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had. So just as Muslims don't accept Christians going overboard in Isa ibn Maryam and saying that he's the son of Allah because he knew what they ate, he knew what they hid in their homes, what they stored in their homes, we also say in our religion, don't go overboard in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and make takdeeb and disbelieve and reject what Allah has established and what the Prophet who we claim that we're defending his honor and loving and respecting and reverencing him, when he in fact told us this is not the case. And he didn't have any problem. The Bedouin man wanted to make Rasulullah look stupid. He wanted to make him look stupid. Rasulullah's camel was outside. The man untied the camel and hit the camel ran off. He came into the masjid. He said, Ya Muhammad, where's your camel at? The Nabi said, it's outside, tied up. The man said, no, your camel ran off into the desert. As if that's a proof that he wasn't divinely sent by Allah. But the point is, the Nabi didn't come up and just start talking and making lies. He didn't know that his camel had been untied and ran off into the desert. And when that happened, there were people who were ignorant, who want to win the battle by lying. They want to win the confrontation with games and tricks. So some people will see this, the feeble-minded people, when they see a situation like this, they would think this is a proof against the Nabi. Intelligent people wouldn't think that. But him, the Nabi, this happening to him, it was a fitna for some people to continue to disbelieve. If he knew the ilm al-ghaib at a time like this, as this principle is in al-Islam, it is not permissible for something to happen in the presence of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He knows about it. It is not permissible for that thing to happen without him saying what the reality is. So if someone is eating with their left hand and is in his presence, he has to say something. Because if he doesn't say anything, then it's okay. It's part of the religion of Islam. Anything that happened and he was sitting there, anything, he heard it, he saw it, it was brought to his attention, he always addressed it, because if he was quiet, it means it's from the Sunnah. So here's a man coming to ask him a question, and he had every reason to say, that camel you untied, he went away, because it's going to stop some people from being happy at what transpired. But he told him, I didn't know that. Because he doesn't have knowledge of the ghaib. He doesn't have knowledge of the ghaib. We're going to stop here, inshallah ta'ala, asking Allah ta'ala to put us on the aqidah that those companions were upon, radiallahu anhum, and those generations of the Muslims who preceded us with yaqeen and knowledge. And we ask him to give us thabat, yawm al-qiyamah, when we're at in our grave, about those issues that are connected to the unseen. Those issues that are connected to the unseen, we hope and we pray to Allah Azza wa Jalla that we're able to answer them without any hesitation and with al-yaqeen. And Allah is a'la and a'la.
Jazakallah khair, Abu Usamah. May Allah reward you for that presentation. We've got, say, about half an hour for questions and answers. If any brothers or sisters have got questions and answers, you can write them on a piece of paper or something and put them forward, and we'll take the written ones first, and then afterwards, if there's any questions and answers remaining, then you can ask. A couple of questions here. I think they're from the sisters upstairs. The first question is, as the Prophet ﷺ still felt the effects of the magic stroke poison when he was passing away, does that mean that one can never fully revere from the effects of magic?
The meat was poisoned. The meat was poisoned. This man, Asim ibn Nabi, put magic on the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He put magic on the Nabi. But in this case, the meat was poisoned. There was no sihr in the meat. Concerning the magic that was put on him, he was totally, absolutely given shifa from that. And a person can get complete shifa from magic. So it doesn't mean that if a person gets magic that you can't get it all off of it. You can get all off, you'll be given it 90 times.
Another question, I assume it's from a sister, inshallah. Seeing the Prophet ﷺ in your dream, he ﷺ was saying this life is temporary. Sharing this dream, saying that you have seen the Prophet in your dream, is this correct? Sharing this dream with sharing it.
No doubt, to be able to see al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in one's dream is a ni'mah from Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's a ni'mah. Most people don't see Rasulullah in their dreams. So to be able to see him, because you're not in control of the situation, so the dream comes from Allah, Allah favored you, so no doubt it's a good thing. He says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, "Man ra'ani fi al-manam faqad ra'ani fa inna ash-shaytan la yatamathalu bi." Anyone who has seen me in his dream, then verily he has seen me, because shaitan doesn't have the ability to come and to take out my image, and he comes to you as Rasulullah. So anyone who sees the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it's a ni'mah from Allah Azza wa Jalla. But you have to have some idea about what he looked like. You have to have some idea about what he looked like. And the person, the image that comes to you in your dream, it can't be against what he was described as being. Like Al-Imam At-Tirmidhi wrote that nice book, Al-Shama'il Al-Muhammadiyya. Those things, everything you need to know about the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, how he walked, how he dressed, how he slept, how he ate, how he looked, all of those issues. And he brought the chapter of what the companions said about it. So if this were to happen, that's a good dream that you should share that information with the people who you love, as the Nabi prohibited us from sharing positive dreams with people who you don't love. Share it with the people who you love. That is permissible.
A question from a brother. It's in 3 parts. The first part is, what is the hadith in regards to the area of Khurasan? Khurasan.
What is the what?
What is the hadith? What is the hadith in regards to the area of Khurasan? Is it true that an army will rise from there? And the third part of the question, is it also true that Dajjal will also rise from there?
There will be a large number of Jews who will have hoods on their heads, and they are from this area of Khorasan, which is in Iran right now. They will follow the Dajjal. They will be a part of his army, fighting on his behalf and fighting the people of Tawheed, spreading mischief, rancor, animosity, fitna and fasad in the land. That hadith is authentic, and also Khorasan is one of the bedrocks, one of the main places that are non-Arabs who excelled academically, scholastically, that came from that area. So it is present-day Iran, and that hadith is authentic.
Any more questions?
Yes, Abu Usamah, assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Yes, let me ask you about if you make sard to hadith of attempting to poison Rasulullah by the Jews. The reason for that is the Quran al-Kareem mentioned لقد أخذنا ميثاق بني إسرائيل وأرسلنا إليهم رسلا كلما جاءهم رسول بما لا تهوى أنفسهم فريقا كذبوا وفريقا يقتلون. And in fact there is one criteria in the Old Testament very annexed to Musa alayhi salam. The false prophet must be executed. So the Jewish, in order to make sure whether that prophet or correct one or false one, they may need to run the execution test on him. If he survived, he's a prophet. If not, he's a false. And this is the only Jewish people today and the Israelites all over the world. They believe only in two prophets, Musa alayhi salam and Muhammad alayhi salam, because both of them survived. How many times the Jews tried to kill Muhammad alayhi salam, and what is the hadith in the book? Because this is very basic knowledge we need to know.
How many times did the Jews try to kill the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam? The incident that we mentioned was one of those times when he was going to have a discussion with some of the Jews from Bani Nadir. Jibril came to him. He was going to the house, and as he got close to the house, Jibril came to him and said, "Don't go in the house. Over the house, they have a big boulder. They're going to drop it on you when you get to the mouth of the house. When you get to the door, they're going to drop the boulder on you." So the Nabi didn't go, and then he expelled them out of Medina. Another proof, another indication that he didn't know the ilm al-ghaib. Jibril came and told him, "Don't keep going." So that's two times. In all of the wars and all of the battles that the Nabi fought, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, the battle of Badr, battle of Uhud, inside of Medina, some of the Jewish people in that area, they supported the enemies against al-Islam. They supported them financially, they supported them in other ways. So there were quite a few number of times that the Yahud tried to kill the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, as they are people who have al-hasad, they are people who have that envy. Wallahu a'lam.
A question from a brother. Can we eat from companies that are owned by Jews and Christians, companies like McDonald's or KFC, as these are owned by them, but these people are not strict Christians or Jews?
There's ikhtilaf between the scholars of the Sunnah concerning these issues. Some said no, and some said yes. I'm of the opinion of those scholars who say yes, you can eat at McDonald's and Big John's and Wendy's and KFC. Some people, they become very upset. I mean, they don't pray. They go to the club on the weekend. They come out of the club on Broad Street, no jacket on. They go into the next door place where the fried food is, fast food. He's sweating. A Muslim girl is sweating. No jacket, is cold. And they say, "Is the meat halal? Is the meat halal?" Some people are real tough on that issue. So as a scholastic issue, it's an issue of ikhtilaf. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, وَتَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ وَتَعَامُكُمْ حِلٌّ لَهُمْ. The food of the people of the book is permissible for you, and your food is permissible for them. Some scholars say no, you have to say Bismillah over that food. So it's an issue of ikhtilaf. As for these stores here, it's not as this person said, that the Mickey D's and KFC and Wendy's and all of these places, Big John's, is owned by Jews. Sometimes behind there, Sikhs, Hindus. Sometimes the person who owns the store is Chinese people. But the scholars of fiqh in issues like this, since this is the land of Ahlul Kitab, they said that the majority of the people here, what they're ruling with takes precedence, because it's not your job to go in and say, who owns this store? Who owns this store? The queen of this country, when she wants to make someone a knight, she has the Bible there and she hits him in the head or touches him on the shoulder with a stick. They want to swear in the prime minister, they swear him based upon the Bible and so forth and so on. So it's a scholastic issue. It's a scholastic issue. For your information, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen was of that opinion that I mentioned. And if you go on to Google, what he had to say has been translated. It is succinct, and inshallah you'll get an appreciation that some scholars took that position. So if you see a brother eating at Mickey D's or KFC and that's his opinion, don't get upset. And that doesn't mean that I eat at Mickey D's. Even if I did, so what? But I don't eat there. But it's permissible. I see it like that.
Question from a brother. You have some people who say the Prophet ﷺ was half light, half man. What's your opinion on this?
My opinion, inshallah, is what Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يُوحَى إِلَيَّ. Tell them, Ya Muhammad, I'm just a human being, just like you are human beings. But revelation comes to me. ما محمد إلا رسول قد خلت من قبله الرسل أفإن مات وقتل انقلبتم على أعقابكم ومن ينقلب على عقبيه فلن يضر الله شيئا. Muhammad is just a messenger, like the messengers who came before him. If he dies or if he is killed, are you people going to apostate and turn back on your heels? And anyone who apostates and turns back on his heels, he doesn't hurt Allah one bit. We don't worship Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some disputants came to the Nabi, two men, and one of them was from the Munafiqeen, and he was articulate and eloquent. The Nabi told them before they started talking, إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ وَإِنَّكُمْ تَخْتَصِمُونَ إِلَيَّ فَأَقْضِي بَيْنَكُمْ عَلَى النَّحْوِ مَا أَسْمَعُ فَمَنْ قَضَيْتُ لَهُ بِحَقِّ أَخِيهِ فَلْيَأْخُذْهُ أَوْ يَتْرُكْهُ فَإِنَّمَا أَقْتَلَهُ جُزْءٌ مِنَ النَّارِ.